Icebreaker, your first speech. You've seen other people speaking, so now it's your turn. Yes? So
yeah.
How do you feel about that? What do you think you know about doing an icebreaker?
Mainly a brief introduction about myself to a group.
Oh my.
Particularly letting them know certain things about myself that I want known to them.
Yeah, what you want them to know. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's just about it.
Okay.
But for this case, I was going through the curriculum, and I found out that not only will I be talking about the things that I want the Toastmaster group, my fellow Toastmasters to know about me, but also my goals for joining the Toastmasters club. So I think I'll do cover that as well.
That's always a good one, because then you've clarified what it is that you want to do. So you're going to talk for 4 to 6 minutes. You've already been online. You've looked at that. I found that 4 to 6 minutes is probably somewhere less than 400 words. If you're writing it out, it's probably less than 400 words. What I've also found is when I'm practicing, if I speak, when I'm practicing and I either record myself or I do it in front of the mirror or something, if I take 4 minutes, then when I'm doing it in reality, I will take 5 minutes. Because when you're doing it in reality, you're going to and ah a little bit more, and you're going to think, and you're going to slower. So don't, when you're practicing, don't worry about if you think it's a bit short, because it will probably end up longer, which is one thing that I found. I was talking to Chep Kamoy, and one of the most memorable icebreakers I remember from this club is Chep Kamoy with her one where she gave the title The Village Girl. And she started off talking about a day down by the river when her parents were wanting her to become a doctor and she wanted to do IT. And so instead of trying to give us this whole, I was born on the 23rd of February in such and such a village, she just gave us a story. And it was a very important story for her and her life and where she is now. And so to me, icebreakers, if you can make it a story about something that was important to you in your life, it makes it more listenable, if you see what I mean. And the other thing to remember is also that you're being introduced by your evaluator. So your evaluator is going to give you a name. They're going to say what path you're on, and they're going to give the title of your speech. And they're going to say you're doing your icebreaker. So you don't need to start your speech with, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I am." Because you've already just been introduced. So what you want to think about is, how am I going to grab my audience? What am I going to say that's going to make them sit up and listen to me? And often, if you've decided you're going to talk about high school or something like that, an experience at high school, then if you've got a quote about high school, or you can start off with something like, "I was always the fool in the dormitory," or something that's going to make them sit up and listen. It's a real good practice for every speech is to open it, make that opening sentence something that you can remember and you can just come really often open with. Okay, does that make sense?
Sure.
And then what we normally do is say with a speech is you say what you're going to say it, and then tell them what you've said. So it's an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And again, if you've got a good quote, or you have a sentence yourself, your philosophy on life as a good closing statement, something that will stick in people's brains so that when they go on to the next speech, they will still remember who Asron was, who Purity was. They'll go, oh yeah, he's the guy that said this, or she's the girl that said this. So and I always think if you can practice doing that in Toastmasters, it will also, particularly with you guys, because you're doing a lot of teaching in Elder Hub, and you're communicating, you may even end up, you're communicating to the British High Commissioner or the government official or something. If you can get that little bit that comes off as I always like to sort of almost call it the elevator pitch or the lift pitch. You're stuck in a lift with somebody and they look at you and you can introduce yourself. Who do you say you are? And so when you're doing this icebreaker, it's a really good place to practice. Who do you say you are? And maybe that's your closing statement. Say something tell us about something in your life that has shaped you to who you are. And then your closing statement is who I am. I wouldn't worry too much. You've obviously read, I was going to show you how to get into the project, but you've obviously worked that one out. You guys are techies, you won't have a problem doing that. And you've seen that they suggest you should talk about your Toastmasters goals. If you've got something specific in Toastmasters, great. But if you just want to say, oh, I'm going to become a better leader and a better speaker, we know that. do you see what I mean? It's let's see what you can do that is stand out. Mm-hmm. If you want to say, hey, I know that sometime next year I'm going to meet the British High Commissioner and I want to make a good impression. That's a good thing to say. But if you just say, I just want to be a better speaker and I want to do it. And you won't I know you won't do it. I know neither of you will do it. I'm seeing these lovely smiles here. So I know you're going to do that. And also, if you can be brave and put a bit of humor in, something that, a story against yourself, do a little bit of humor. That if you can do that, you've also caught your audience, because we always remember what we laugh about. And so, that's, you may not be able to do it this time, but if you can, that then makes your icebreaker really something that people are going to remember. The funny story about your granny and the chickens, or Go-Go and the chickens, I don't know. Something that makes people sit up and talk. What I was going to suggest is that if you write out your speech, you're not going to, that is not the speech you're going to give. That's the speech you're going to practice. Because when you actually, there's always 3 speeches, and everybody does it. Even the guy that's going to win, or the girl that's going to win the international competition at the end of the month, they'll have 3 speeches. There's the speech they practiced, there's the speech they actually gave, and then there's the speech they wish they'd given. And 3 of them are different. But the idea is nobody knows what you were going to say. So it doesn't matter what you say, because nobody knows what you'd planned to say. But the more you practice before you give the speech, then the more you're going to get what you were planning, or closer to what you were planning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's it. So what I would say is try to aim for something about 400 words.
Okay.
What I would also suggest you do is record it somehow on the. I find the easiest way is just to start my own personal Zoom meeting and record it on the Zoom, because that then gives the idea of what am I going to look like to the other people. And then if you want to send that recording to me, just to give you some hints and helps, I'm here and I'm more than happy to do that. And yeah, the recording on the Zoom just gives you that feeling that you're in the Zoom meeting. So that's me talking. Which questions do you have?
None, actually. I mean, you've covered it for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's not a big thing, and unfortunately, it's going to be Zoom. I'd much rather be doing this open, because when you're open, you can look at people and you can get an idea of what they're thinking. But we'll try and get as many people to turn their videos on as possible. But yeah, the other thing that I have, and I'm not all that good at it, is when you're talking, stand up. And for me, it's easy because when I'm standing, I'm the same height as when I'm sitting. But move back from the camera a little bit, just so that people can see you.
Okay.
Okay. And then you can move a little bit. You can do whatever. And I have a big white dot around my camera, so I know where I'm looking at if I'm looking at my audience. I'm looking at the camera. I'm not looking at me. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you're really, really clever, you've probably worked out how to use a teleprompter. But
Sorry, we didn't get that.
A teleprompter. You know, there's actually free teleprompter programs. And to be perfectly honest, we need to learn how to use them, because that's the way life goes at the moment, is that people do use teleprompters. And you can try using it, but actually for a short speech, I would much rather you try to speak. You can have a couple of notes in your hand. You can, maybe just have the bullet points in your hand. You can read it if you really feel uncomfortable, but I don't think either of you guys should be in that situation. And Khadija, have I got that right?
Yeah.
Welcome. How are you? Are you still in Nairobi?
No,
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're recording this, so you can go back over this in a minute if you like. I'll send you the recording.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Unfortunately, you didn't sign up quite quick enough to be able to get on Wednesdays.
Next time I will sign up. Yeah.
What you might also want to
That is what you said.
is practice, because we always get somebody who drops out. So if you're ready, we can put you in the reserve. So if you've got one that's ready to go, and say hello, little one, we can put you in as the reserve.
No, next time. Let me first see how it goes on Wednesday.
Okay, good. What I was saying to the other two is that the story should be about yourself.
Mhm.
But no, try and make it interesting. Don't just go, I was born on the blah, 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 blah. I went to school, blah, 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 blah. I did this high school. If you've got an interesting school about high school, or an interesting story about college, something that made you who you are. Maybe even for you, Kajita, it's having the baby. Maybe you've got want to tell that story. Something that you think will interest the other people, but it's also something you can talk about easily. It's something that you maybe it's a story you've told when you're sitting with friends having a drink or over dinner or something. That's the type of thing to look at as your icebreaker story.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, and somewhere about if you write out 400 words and then just try recording it, and it takes you about 4 minutes, then when you go to perform it, because public speaking is a performance. When you go to perform it, it'll probably take you 5 minutes, and that's probably a good amount of time. You don't want to be just about finishing when the green light comes up. Now, have any of you seen? I just want to share screen. And if I get this right, this is your evaluation form. And we'll make sure that whoever's evaluating you gets the form. But what they're going to need is your speech title. So your speech title should be something relevant to what you're speaking about. Okay? And your speech title can be, maybe, you know, if that's what, but try and think of something that might, you know, also be a grabber. The evaluator, when they introduce you, is going to give your name, your speech title, and then your name. And when they finish saying your name, then you should be ready to start speaking with the bang, let's get started, quote, statement, you know, whatever it is that you think is going to start you off with a bang and get people to really notice you. The evaluator is going to come back with you. They're going to do a verbal evaluation where for an icebreaker, they will tell you did marvelously. We always do. But they're also going to just say there were maybe a couple of things that you could have done better. You know, if you maybe not pick your nose while you're talking or whatever it was, something that they've seen that they can comment about that you could have done better. And they may going to suggest you challenge yourself with something. Normally on icebreakers, it starts off with let's talk about your physical, what you're doing with your hands. One of the things you notice, if I'm sitting down, if I bring my hand up, it becomes this giant thing. And when I'm standing up and away from the camera, my hands are more useful. And the other thing, if you're standing up, is I have the advantage, I don't have to do this, but try and block your laptop up so that you're looking straight rather than we're looking up your nose. If that makes sense. Actually, I forgot to do this. I actually have I don't know if that will swap or not, but I have a webcam that I sometimes use, and I have it on oh, now I've frozen. Put this back. Oh, let me stop sharing my screen for a minute and go back to start my video again. This is my webcam. Well, let me turn off the background. Stop video. Virtual backgrounds have a pluses and minuses, but the webcam is on a tripod. Oh, I thought I'd done that. Nope. Okay, always fun. None. That's better. Okay, so you can see that the webcam it's just a cheapo that I bought from Jumia. And I then had one of these selfie sticks that is a tripod. So I put it behind the laptop, and then I can adjust the height depending on where I need it. And it actually has a much better microphone than my laptop. So I don't do that. Start video. Okay, now that's using the webcam, which at the moment is too high. So I can play around with that as well. Okay, so that's the thing. It makes a difference if you can get something. I mean, you've got good video that I can see at the moment from you in the office. But I don't know if, because we start at 7, the reason we did 7 is so everybody gets time to get home. Particularly when we had the curfew, the 7 o'clock curfew. It was like if we started at 6, some people didn't have time to get home. Okay, so I'll go back to sharing my screen again. Where we go? And basically the evaluator's going to give you, as well as doing what you did good, what you could possibly improve on, and what you want to challenge yourself, they will give you a written one. And every evaluation always has a second page where they evaluate you from 1 to 5. If somebody gives you a 5, I'd be very, very concerned that they weren't really being honest. You know, to me, 5 means you're exemplary, and 3s are good. And for starting out, 1s and 2s are fine. Because and people don't always fill this in. But I find it useful to go through and make a comment about each section. Did you use tone, speed, volume? Did you deliver your speech in a very flat way that was not very impressive? Or did you talk in an interesting manner? And when you had something important to say, you moved forward, and when it wasn't very important, you quietened down. And that's just that difference in tone, speed, volume. Eye contact is very difficult to judge when we're doing Zoom. And you've got the advantage, you both of you got the advantage. I've got the glasses hide where your eyes are looking. So it's a sort of plus. You can think you're looking at the camera. Oh, hang on, I'm looking at this camera, not that one. Think you're looking at the camera, or they think you're looking at the camera, but you may be looking at something else. Again, physical gestures, you have to be standing up to be able to see that. Okay, and that's another reason for recording yourself on Zoom. Because when you record yourself on Zoom, you're seeing how Zoom sees you. Audience awareness, very, very difficult to judge. If you were standing in a room full of people and they were all looking the other way, you could know that your audience awareness wasn't very good. But if we Zoom, who knows what's going on in everybody's houses. Comfort level, that we can judge. Engages audience with interesting, well-constructed content. That's what we said before. Let make it interesting. Say what you're going to say it. Tell them what you said, and leave them with something that's going to leave them thinking. Yep. Yeah. So any questions? What's your thoughts?
Personally, I have no question.
Are you happy? Yeah. Are you happy to give it a go?
Oh yeah. But Kathy, is it mandatory to stand?
Yeah.
No, it's not mandatory, but it is better. It is better if you can do that. Okay. It means you have to put your laptop on a few books. But I know if I remember rightly, you're quite tall, aren't you?
No, that's Kamboy.
Oh, that's Kamboy. Okay. But yeah, no, it's really up to you how you feel, what you feel most comfortable. But what I want you to avoid is this bit, that you use your hands and they become distracting. Yeah. So the standing just gives you so much better. You can move, you can talk, and you can use a virtual background. You can move, you can talk, you can, how much easier it is to express yourself when you're standing like this. Yeah. So just think about it as to which way you want to go.
Okay.
Okay. And the other important thing, I'm also very lucky in the being Mzungu, it's much easier with the lighting. I feel sorry for you guys because lighting is so much more difficult for you to get a good lighting, particularly when you're old and wrinkly, because you don't get the reflections that you guys get.
We'll do it what's there.
There's pluses and minuses, whatever color your skin is. But, and that's another thing. You know, one evening when you're at home between 7 and 9, you know, 8 o'clock, try out wherever it is you're going to do your speech from and check the lighting, because if the lighting's behind you, you'll disappear. So you know, just work on it and see how you look. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Are you ready?
That was for me.
Okay, I'm here if you ever need any help. If you want to just send me a recording or you want to send me your written, I'm more than happy to look at it. Okay?
All right. Thanks.
And Khadija, we're going to put you down for the next meeting. Yeah? All right.